Welcome to Momavate Momversations on the Win-Win Women platform, where we women gather to care, connect, and collaborate. Truly a win-win for us all. It is always our goal to keep calm and mom on. I'm your hostess, Reagan Barnes. I am a mom of 8 and founder of the nonprofit organization Momavate that empowers you to elevate your mothering experience. Today, we are welcoming Marietta Paxson, founder of LittleDreamers.us, to join our Momversation. And you, Mom, you are joining us, and we are so glad to have you both, Marietta and you too. We welcome you into the Momavate community, or Mom Unity, as we like to say. Together, we enrich motherhood as we answer the question, what moms do? With this uplifting statement, moms raise up society. That's right, not just our own kids, but all of society, including ourselves, are uplifted by the work of intentional mothers. Because as moms, we are uniquely positioned to influence society one-on-one in each of the 7 categories of this acronym. Today, with our special guest, Marietta, we're going to focus on the energy category of this acronym and even get more narrow and talk about sleep. So, welcome, Marietta. We're going to turn off our slides at this point and give us a chance to get to know you a little more personally. So as I mentioned, you founded a website called LittleDreamers.us. And we are excited to hear more about that, like your story of how sleep became a passion for you.
Let us know. Thank you. Wow, I think sleep. Wow. Yeah, I feel like sleep's always been important to me, right? Even before I had kids, I've always been someone who needed sleep, and I've always valued sleep, and I've always tried to take care of that, or always have that time for sleep in my life. But I think when you are single or when you do not have children, it's much easier to package that up and take care of it. And when you have children, it's a job that never ends. So you don't always get to say, oh, now I'm going to sleep and please leave me alone, right? Yeah. And I felt, so I have 4 children. My oldest is 9, and then I have 7-year-old twins, and I have a 3-year-old. And with my first child, I had read the book, Healthy Sleep Habits, Happy Baby or Child, Happy Child. I can't remember the title, but you will Google that and find it. And I felt, prepared enough for a baby, and I felt like I was going to be able to honor and protect my sleep so that I could function my best for him. And to be honest, things went mostly smoothly. He was just a naturally good sleeper. And we had some ups and downs, just like any child would, for sure. But overall, he was a great sleeper. And I, of course, gave myself all the credit for it. So when I found out I was having twins, I got a lot of advice about sleep naturally, because anyone who has had twins knows that sleep can be hard to come by. But I, of course, thought that I had it under control. I knew what to do. I'd already done it with one baby. I was an expert. And so you can imagine how humbled I had to get at that point. The twins.
I want to mention that I have twins too.
Oh,
they are 17 at this point. So they actually are great sleepers even now, which actually I'm kind of proud of, to have teenagers who are good sleepers. I'm like, all right, I did something. Right. The sleep time at our household is a happy time that people look forward to. And, I think, okay, we must have gotten some good habits going there. So.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. So yeah, when they first come, as little babies, it's definitely a sleepless environment. At least that's how it felt for us. And within, the first few weeks, you know that you're not going to be sleeping. You kind of expect things to settle down at some point. And, within the first few 3 to 5 months, I realized, wow, this is not working. Things have not settled down and I have no idea what I'm doing, nor do I help them. Something has to change. Something has to give. And we did establish a routine. I think it was around 3 months of age that we established a routine, and it all fell apart about 2 months later. And I was like, what's going on? Right now, I can go back, and with what I've learned and the experience that I have, I can go back and I could tell you exactly what happened, what was going on, what I did, what I didn't do, all that. I won't go into all the details, but when it fell apart that second time, there was no coming back from it. And at that point, it was about 4 months of me getting about 4 hours of staggered sleep each night, waking up with 2 babies. I mean, I look back now and I think, wow, I can't believe how well I functioned for how little sleep I was getting.
Yeah. Our bodies are resilient, thank goodness, but we can only rely on that resilience for so long.
Yes, exactly. Your body can only handle that for so long. And I could feel that there was a breaking point coming, that if I did not take care of myself, that we would all fall apart, right? And so it's when I really said, like, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out how do babies sleep? How can I help them? And there was a lot of research. There was a lot of late nights. There was even some trial and error that we did in there. But by about 8 months, I had made like my plan, my successful plan, I'll say, because I'd made plans before, but they weren't successful. And there were various reasons why, but I was able to make my plan. I was able to be successful. And once I had the right plan, it really was not a hard process after that. It was just getting there. And I think in my journey, trying to figure out how to get my twins to sleep, there were a lot of books out there. They were all very thick. They were hard to read and they were hard to dissect. And so when I, about a year later, I want to say, that I launched Little Dreamers. And my whole goal in that was to give parents what I so desperately needed, which was a very short, simple to read sleep training guide. So my guides are all written age specific, because again, sleep deprived mom taking care of 3 kids, 3 and under, I did not have time to read a book and create my own plan. Somehow I did, because I did it, but I don't want you to have to do it.
Right.
It's short and it's very specific to the age of your child. So you can open it up, you can read it in like 30 minutes and actually know exactly what you're supposed to do, instead of doing this trial and error that I'd gone back and forth on, because there was nothing out there that was like very specific and giving me a specific plan. So to back up again, once I got my twins sleeping, you would think that like my obsession would leave, like, okay, we're sleeping, I don't have to worry about it. But it just grew. I just kept learning and helping friends. And, it truly was an obsession. Like I could not put it down. And so, like I said, it was about a year later after that I launched Little Dreamers and began helping more than just, family and friends with sleep and with these guides and with these, this newborn course, just whatever I could get out there to really give people a direct approach of help, I guess.
Yeah, not a thick, fat book that you're going to fall asleep reading because you don't have enough sleep yourself. And so,
yes.
All right. So tell us a little bit about how sleep training is different from Cry It Out.
For sure. So there's a big umbrella, big umbrella up at the top that we say is sleep training. And then underneath that, there's like a bazillion different ways to accomplish that. So Cry It Out can be one method that you use to sleep train, but it is by no means the only method to sleep train, if that makes sense. As an example, if you were to hop on my website and purchase, say, my 6 to 7 month sleep guide, which is going to give you everything you need to know for a 6 to 7 month old baby. There's going to be, I believe, three different sleep training methods just in that guide alone. One of them is a cried out. I call it a no check approach. And then we have a check and console approach, and we have a pick up, put down approach. And those are just 3, right? To be concise and to give parents, like, these are the most common, most popular ones, choose from these. But what's really neat is when I get to work one-on-one with clients, the options that we have of creating like our method of sleep training is endless, honestly. And we make a lot of really custom methods for families depending on their needs and their child and what they feel comfortable with.
Oh, cool. That's important, I think, for parents to feel like they can ask specific questions and tell you their specific backgrounds and what maybe values they're coming into it with, to be able to not just give them the easy, I hear the cry it out so often comes as the, oh, well, just don't ever look at the child and then you'll be fine and you'll be fine. And I've never bought into that myself. That it's not the child who learns to sleep, it's the parent who learns to sleep through the child's crying. And I think that's not really the kind of relationship I want to form for my child, So
yeah, I totally agree that it comes back to the family and their values and what they're comfortable with. And one of the things I say a lot in my newborn course is it's your family, it's your home, and it's your way. I'm never going to come in and tell a parent, hey, you have to do it this way. But I do. The other thing that I said from the very beginning is I would never ask a family to do something that I did not feel comfortable doing with my own children and in my own home. My background prior to doing sleep is actually as a marriage and family therapist. I'm currently licensed as a marriage and family therapist in the state of Utah and practicing that on the side with the sleep stuff on the side. So 2 kind of part-time gigs here. And my training, my experience as a marriage and family therapist is specific to relationships and attachment and all of that.
Oh, wonderful.
So it was really interesting early on in the sleep stuff to dive into the research and, seeing my own experience with my kids, looking at the research and like figuring out where all of that falls together. And like you said, like the parents have to feel comfortable with whatever method they choose. It's one of the most important things, right? And anytime we want change, right? If you're not happy with sleep and you want to change it, anytime you want change, that can be hard for both parent and child for sure.
That's true. And I think the parent has a little bit of an advantage because their brains are fully formed. They're able to think through what's happening. They know the goal is sleep, where I think babies are kind of like, actually, my goal is to hang out with my mom. So I don't know why you're trying to put me away from my mom, Right. So trying to that's, I think, where some of the training concept can come in, or teaching, right? As parents, we really are our children's teachers and having to introduce them to new ideas and new ways of thinking and understanding the concept of sleep. And it's a continual process. I would say, like I mentioned, I am happy as a mom that my teenagers are good sleepers, because I can see in many families that is not the case, and that and I think that that's something for parents to be aware of in the long term as they are building sleep habits in their young ones and in their toddlers. Make sure that things are kept on a happy, good level, and that it's never a matter of abandonment, right? I'm like, sorry, I'm shutting the door and I'm not going to check on you because I think it's really important to realize what messages we're sending, not just to the children themselves, but to our own brains. What message are we sending? That I don't have to worry about you when you're in your bedroom, so I won't.
Yeah.
But realizing it's a long.
One of the biggest misconceptions about sleep training is I hear so many critics say, you're teaching a child that you won't come anymore. You're not teaching them to sleep, you're teaching them not to cry. And I'm like, well, I'm pretty sure every person who is ever sleep trained knows that their child still cries out when they need them. They do not stop that. I promise you. Sleep training is about how the child falls asleep, whether it's just a routine. Honestly, it's just creating a routine.
The routine is huge, and following the routine every time.
Yeah.
Even details of the routine that you and I as adults don't think are important, but the child themselves will realize, oh, wait a minute, last time you changed my diaper first, and then you whatever gave me a rocking in the chair or whatever it is.
Right.
They have to go in the right order, because that's what their brains are doing, to realize that the final step then is sleep.
Yes.
And you talk about it, with good attitude of how much we enjoy sleep, and that mommy likes to sleep and you can like sleeping too. And it's like, there's so much there. And it can even start right there in infancy, because they have to learn all of that vocabulary eventually. So they might as well learn it in the midst of the actions that are happening, and that gives them that context, So talk to those babies, even though you're thinking in your head, this is a baby. They don't have any idea what's going on. I don't have to talk to them. But that is how they learn, is through those interactions. So
yes.
Talk it through.
I'm glad you mentioned that. That's in my sleep guides. There is a section on tell your child what is happening. Tell them what the plan is. Tell them what their job is. I don't care if they're 4 months old or 4 years old. Like, they get to be involved in this. They don't. Kids don't always get to choose the roles, but they can definitely be informed of what the plan is and what's happening. I love that.
Yeah, including them, since they are the primary target of all of the efforts. So I am curious, what is like one of the worst sleep situations you've ever seen?
Oh gosh, I remember I had a and I think it's so interesting. I think back on this specific family that I helped, and she was a very young single mom who had a 1-bedroom. Well, she was living with extended family, so her and her daughter were sleeping in the same room. You just look back on her situation, and I just remember having so much empathy for her and just thinking, wow, you are doing everything you know how to do. You're doing it the best that you can, right? And I'm so grateful that you have allowed me to come into your home to help create change for your daughter, for you, in a direction that you want it to be, right? I think we can all relate to being in a place that we don't want to be, and dreaming or wishing it could be different, but getting from that step to the final step can be so difficult. And that's where getting some extra help can really work to get you there, to get you started, to draw out that plan for you. And anyway, so when I met with this mom, she described that her daughter, and I want to say she was between the ages of 2 to 3. I can't remember super specific, but she's definitely in the toddler range, and she was awake for hours in the middle of the night, watching movies, watching shows, nursing maybe throughout the night. It was just very, very hard. And the mom would talk about, I'm just so exhausted because I go to work all day, right? We're a single mom. I'm going to work all day. And then when she wakes up, there was no routine or system to get her back to sleep. So it was, okay, well, I have to sleep here, do whatever you want while I sleep, because I have to function. And that's one of the reasons I'm so passionate about sleep, because you literally can't function.
Yeah, your brain just can't think clearly. You're angry. There's a funny word that exists for when you're hungry and you're angry, and that's, hangry. But what is the word for when you are so frustrated with life in general because you're tired,
Yeah, for real, there should be a word for that. Yeah, and so she was doing the best that she could with the tools that she had. And because of their situation, she we kept that little girl in mom's room, but we got her sleeping through the night. We got her on an earlier bedtime. We got her a bedtime routine. We worked on a lot of boundaries, right? Where, hey, I'm the parent, so I'm going to make the rules. You as a child do not have to be happy with these. Totally get it. You're upset. You don't like this rule. That's okay. Here's some rewards when you're ready to follow these rules, right? We worked on all of that. And it was so interesting because I hear this often with my clients. We're just talking about sleep. That's all we're talking about, sleep, boundaries around sleep, all of that. And I remember her telling me, it's so weird. Like, she is respecting me more during the day. She's following rules more during the day. And I think that was twofold. Like, sleep helps us to be our best selves. So the little girl was getting sleep and then could be her best self. And mom had established routine and boundaries that were spilling over to daytime behavior. And it changed everything for that little family.
That is fantastic. Yes, I love to hear that there are ripple effects. It's not just about getting enough sleep. It's about how life continues when you are awake, and being able to apply some of those things, like boundaries is a word that you said, and the idea of rewards and consequences and things like that are going to be applicable outside of the world of sleep. But starting with sleep is so wise, because it's one of those very basic needs that sometimes we dismiss. I don't know why. Why are we like that as a culture? But it's crazy. So, do you have like a motto or philosophy that guides your work?
So, well, I mentioned a couple already. One is your family, your home, your way. So I see myself as the helping hand in creating the sleep that you want in your home. And obviously, my expertise or my niche is that I help parents create independent sleep for their children. If that's not your goal, then I'm probably not a good fit to help your family, right? But in creating that independent sleep, I want to honor the goals or special circumstances that you have in your own family. So that's probably one of them. And then the other thing that I mentioned is I will never ask a family to do something that I want to do with my own children. So that's always been a guiding principle. And I feel like I've wrestled with it all. Like, prior to even starting Little Dreamers, with my twins, that was, I had to have some real deep conversations with myself. What do I feel comfortable with? Where is this going to go? What are the possible outcomes? Am I
trying to see the long term?
Exactly. And where am I at? Because if I'm in a scary place, then that may be more dangerous than putting a child down in a bed and leaving the room and not walk in there. You know what I mean? Like, that would be the very best option for that baby in that moment. Right. So it depends on every situation. And as I work with families, it's figuring out where they're at, where their capacity, how much room do they have, or are they already at the end of their work? Are they already so fried that, they're desperate for help? And so as you kind of just work one-on-one with those families and assess the situation, and then, yes, I will nudge them. I will push you to do something, in the direction that you want to go, but it's going to be uncomfortable for everybody. And then I get to support you as you do it.
That's really critical, I think, to acknowledge the uncomfortable part, and that it is a process that you have to commit to for the long term, that it's not necessarily going to be a quick fix overnight, because it requires change, and change can be gradual and can take time.
Yes.
So having that support, like from somebody like you, can be really helpful in the process of the change. We have talked a little bit about how, as moms, the lack of sleep can be scary sometimes, and lead to other issues like postpartum depression or anxiety. So if a mom is already there, how do you help her go from and be able to handle sleep issues in the midst of those postpartum depression or anxiety?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think, and I look back and I would say, I think the minority of my clients aren't dealing with some sort of mental health challenge in that, right? Whether it's anxiety or depression, lack of sleep is related to almost every single disorder in the DSM. So
Wow.
if you're not sleeping, like, you don't feel good, not just like physically, but like emotionally and mentally. So that's why I check in so much with my parents. Where are you at? What can you handle? Like, what can we do here? And I would say the biggest thing is support, right? So, and that's going to look different for every person. For some people, I'm that support, right? Just knowing like, hey, I am in so much brain fog. I just need you to tell me what to do and when to do it. And I trust you. I know that it's going to get better. Getting on the same page with your spouse. I've had, I've just seen so many different scenarios where mom and dad are on the same page, but mom is like, but I can't do it. I'm leaving. I'm going to the hotel. Dad's like, it's cool. I got it. Like, I'll support you. I'll take over. I'll step in. I've worked, it's finding that support. And I've worked with grandparents. I've worked with nannies. I've worked with everyone, because the nice thing about sleep is, sleep with a baby never looks perfect. I don't ever want to give my clients that, false idea that, oh yeah, we'll do this hard thing and then it will be perfect and we'll never have any problems. It's really like such a learning opportunity for us as adults too. Oh, this happened. Now what do I do? Great. Let's talk through our options and find the best one for you and your baby. And so getting to help them improve sleep, but also working with them to provide them the strategies, right? Of real life.
And yeah, and it'll be things they can apply when the child is a 3-year-old and experiencing different, or when they start school, or the other changes that will continue in those children's lives, and it might show up as a sleep problem. But as you've been giving them these tools, then they can apply them later too. So yeah, awesome. Well, we are going to go ahead and turn back on our slides now to wrap up our information together. I just wanted people to see your Little Dreamers logo here. So when they go to littledreamers.us, they know they're at the right place. I wrote down that you offer sleep guides and you even offer scholarships for them, which I think is beautiful. You said everyone deserves to sleep. So that's what we titled our show today. And I want moms to remember that everybody deserves to sleep. So go to littledreamers.us if you need those sleep guides. She can even offer you scholarships for that. We've been hearing such good info here with you, Marietta, and I want to encourage you, our viewing audience, to take a moment right now to write down some of those key points that stuck out to you personally. And in order to remember what we learned and put it into practice, we have to write it down. And just like the gears on this, that writing it down is like the first gear that then leads to other movements. Activating our gears can lead to far-reaching positive changes. I want to end by saying thank you. This half hour has gone by so fast. It's time to finish the recording and start our live interaction with our viewers. If you've watched this as a recording, thank you for watching, and be sure to catch our live show every Saturday at 3 p.m. Pacific time so you can participate also in the second half hour, where you continue the conversation directly together with us, and it's unrecorded. As we want to include you in the discussion. That's how Win Win Women TV is unique. We care, we connect, we collaborate.